It is time for Talking Pints. I'm joined by Nick Buckley MBE, Mancunian, who's come to visit us today. Nick, welcome to Talking Pints.
Thank you.
Little secret, Nick was supposed to be here on Talking Pints today. Boris Johnson resigned, and he came all the way down from Manchester, and we sent him back again. But I think, Nick, you did understand the reasons why.
Absolutely.
Now, Nick, it's a fascinating tale. You worked for the local council up in Manchester, and in the end, you went out on your own, set up your own charity called the Mancunian Way, which was quite an inspired title, actually. But you spent sort of 20-odd years working with homeless people, working with those who were or are vulnerable. What are the big lessons you learned in those 20 years?
The lesson really was about personal responsibility. Most of that time was working with young people, trying to stop them getting involved in crime, and then I later got into homelessness as well. And it was the same lesson. It was personal responsibility. And I was guilty of this through my teens and 20s, of always waiting for someone to improve my life for me. And shock, horror, no one's ever going to improve your life for you. You have to do it yourself. So, the people who end up on the street, rough sleeping, they're broken people anyway, and they've got a lifetime of the state, social services, the courts making decisions for them. And eventually it turns into something called learned helplessness, where you don't know how to solve your own little problems. You're just helpless, always waiting for someone to fix them for you.
And I imagine a lot of people who are sleeping on the streets as a result of everything have psychological problems.
Yes.
There are many with alcohol and substance addiction problems. How the hell do you turn those lives around? Can they be turned around in significant numbers?
Every life can be turned around. I'm never having anyone telling me that we have lost causes, because we don't have lost causes.
Do you really believe that?
No, I honestly believe that. Some people will take a hell of a lot of work, and in the charity I used to be part of and run, we had a policy called No More Last Chances, which means we never run out of chances with you. We'll spend 6 months helping you, getting you off the streets, getting you into a job, getting you into drug treatment, and after 8 months you fall back on the streets. Well, do you know what? We'll start again from square one.
Really?
Because it may take you 2 or 3 times before it sticks. So it's all about making, because these are our fellow citizens, and I've never been in a position where I want to write off our fellow citizens. But it's difficult work.
But you can't help those, Nick, surely, that don't want to be helped.
They all want to be helped. What happens is you walk up to someone on the street who's sat there begging, living on the streets, and you say, do you want some help? And they go, no, thank you, I'm fine. Well, we know that's not true. You can tell by their eyes. Their eyes are telling you, I'm dying. I'm in pain. I'm sorry I was born. That's what their eyes are telling you. And you need to build up a relationship with that person over weeks and months, and you start unpicking why you're here. What is it that happened in your life that led to this? What can we do to help? And these people need professional help. They don't need people, I don't fix people's lives on the streets. All I do is get them the professional help they need.
You're the broker,
I'm the broker, because they need professional help. It's the people who go around buying people meal deals. Honestly, if a sandwich could get someone off the streets, we wouldn't have a problem in this country. They need professional help, not a sandwich, and not 17 pence in change. That wouldn't fix anyone's life.
So when we're walking down, it could be Victoria Street or somewhere in London or anywhere in Manchester equally, and when there are people there asking for money on the street, should we give them money? Or how do we know we're not being exploited by criminal gangs? Or what should we do?
So 15 years of working with the homeless, this is what I say. You never give anyone money on the streets.
Okay.
Because from my evaluation of Manchester City Centre a couple of years ago, 65% of the people begging on the streets of Manchester City Centre were not even homeless. That's 2/3.
Really?
Even the 1/3 who were living on the streets, giving them money doesn't help them at all. It goes straight into the local drug dealer's pocket for some more drugs. Those drugs slightly damage that individual a little bit more. Wow. So now it's harder to get off the streets. There's a bit more damage. So what does he need? He now needs a little bit more drugs because he's slightly more damage. We're paying people.
So this is a real tough love approach you're advocating here.
Everything we do is tough love.
Very, very.
And then people say, well, I don't give money, I give sandwiches. And surely that can't hurt anybody. But the answer is, yes, it does. And let me explain why. Because in all our major cities, we have homeless centres where people can go and get food and have a shower and things like that. It's only when they're in those centres having a hot meal, sat at a table like a human being, not sat on a dirty pavement eating scraps. They feel human sat at a table using a knife and fork. That's when the social workers and support workers can start talking to them and start unpicking some of their problems. So when you give someone a meal deal sat on the street, all you've done is stop them getting help that day. Because now they don't need to go to the centre.
This is an incredibly powerful message. There'll be a lot of people watching this thinking, crikey, you know, I have given money, I have done things, and you're telling them, with all your experience, that doesn't help.
It doesn't help, but I want them to help. So what? I'm not saying don't help these people. No, they need help.
It's the right kind of help.
And you should want to help. The way you help them is you do some research, you find out some local charities in your area who are doing face-to-face work. Not the big ones, the small charities doing face-to-face work. And you set up a direct debit to give them £4 a month. That means something. That does something for those people. That's how you help.
Did you find with the Mancunian way that fundraising was a big challenge?
It got easier and easier before COVID because we got better and better at it.
Yes.
Then since COVID, it's all collapsed. And then I got into trouble myself.
We're going to come to that, don't worry.
so now the funding through donations is very minimal now.
Can you think back through the years of, you know, big success stories, people whose lives you turned completely around, who went to work and became successful? Oh,
absolutely. I'll tell you a quick one or two. So we got one homeless gentleman, our job on the building site as a labourer. We phoned up his employer the first couple of days. How's he doing? He's doing great. The second week we phoned up, how's he doing? He's been late every morning this week. So we went down to see him at lunchtime. What's going on? You know, this is a great opportunity. But I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to try harder. I'll wake up earlier in the morning. We went, what do you mean? He went, I've actually got no money till I get paid in 3 weeks' time. The job centre stopped all my money. I'm walking 7 miles to get to work in the morning. I've got no money for food and I'm walking 7 miles home every evening. And I'm sorry I was 15 minutes late. I went, don't apologise. Here's a month's ticket for you, for the buses.
Yeah.
We'll get you some food from a food parcel. So here's a man who was going to get sacked, who would have failed again in life, not because he was lazy, not because of a drug addiction, because he had no money to get a bus ticket, a £1.50 bus ticket, and we were going to ruin his life again. These are little things, the little problems that we need to solve to make sure people are successful, instead of saying, just a waste of space.
Well, it's a very compelling story. And for your work, you were awarded the MBE, which is a great honour, and congratulations on that. And it was all looking pretty good, really, wasn't it? Everything was going well in life, Nick. And then the madness which struck. And, of course, I was a victim of the madness too. And I'm talking about within 24 hours of the murder, as a court decided, of a man in the Midwest, George Floyd. Within 24 hours, there were organised protests in London. I mean, this wasn't a coincidence. This was planned. Yeah. But BLM mania hit the corporate world, the media world. You couldn't say a word against it. All I did was try to explain that BLM was an avowedly Marxist, dangerous left-wing organisation that wanted to defund the very police who were taking the knee to them. But you went a bit further in a way, didn't you?
I was naive. People say I was brave. I wasn't brave. I was naive. We had the mostly peaceful riots in London. And I thought, who are these Black Lives Matter organisation? I'd heard of them before, but I didn't really know much about it. So I Googled it, found their website. So not a conspiracy theory website, their website. Read their website and went, I don't like the sound of any of this. Especially the bit about the breaking down the Western nuclear family. And I thought, that's the biggest problem we've got in our society. There's no fathers in the home, and they want to do more of this. So I wrote a 700-word blog as an individual and put it on my personal blog. Didn't talk about the charity at all because it's nothing to do with the charity. Put it out there. Some people went crazy. So I went from MBE to a Nazi in 6 months. So somebody said,
I'm sorry to laugh. But,
no.
But it was mania, wasn't it?
It was. I had one lady contact me going, I take on board all your charity work, but you're still a Nazi, you're just a compassionate Nazi. And that was the nicest insult I ever had. So then someone set a petition up to have me fired from my own charity. The board were basically cowards, and they went, if we don't give them Nick's head, they may come for us. So the easiest thing is let's give them Nick's head, and Nick sacked me.
And that must have been devastating.
My life fell apart.
But you also, as a result of that, were part of a national media storm.
I was. The first week I was a beaten man. I was a wreck, absolutely beaten man. It was like, what have I done to ruin my life? And then I just woke up one morning and I gave myself a talk, the same talk I've given 10,000 young men, the same talk. What you're feeling sorry for? Get up, push yourself down, your best step forward. And that's what I did. And I thought, right, spoke to this Mail on Sunday, spoke to the Free Speech Union, and I thought, I'm not having this. I may not win, but I'll tell you what, I'll be a very good second in this race. So we then launched a campaign. I launched a campaign to put more pressure on the board to say, this isn't on, this isn't right. And within 5 weeks, we forced the whole board to resign in disgrace, and I got my job back.
I'm delighted to hear that, because it was a lot of people lost their jobs during that period of time. And now, of course, the same journalists who were screaming that BLM was this great virtuous thing, they've now read the website. How about that?
Yes.
They've now caught up with where we were. So you're back to work, but here we are, cost of living crisis, a heck of a lot of people on low wages just not going to be able to pay the bills.
Yep.
It's going to be very, very hard, very, very hard. Homelessness is going to increase.
Yep.
We're facing a bit of a problem, aren't we?
We are. I've taken a step back from the charity now because funders were saying we're not going to fund the charity if Nick Buckley's involved. So I've had to take a step back. So even though I won, I still lost. Yeah. It's going to get hard. I mean, even everyday people now are struggling, the cost of living crisis, which is really a cost of lockdown crisis, basically. It's going to get hard. I don't know what the solution is.
That'd be tough.
It's going to take a proper leader, and that's what we're missing in the country.
And you've stood independently, you've stood for reform. Is politics perhaps a way that Nick Buckley might go?
It is. Not all my eggs are in that basket at the moment. But I feel the only way we're going to change the country is if we get some more voices in the places where those decisions are made. No. Because I'm tired of the same career politicians making the same choices which only benefit them. I don't mean benefit them financially, I mean benefit them in their career. It's just career politicians, and we don't seem to have anybody anymore now with a vision for the country. The only person recently with a vision for the country was Jeremy Corbyn, and I never would have voted for the man, but at least he had a different vision and said, this is where I want to take you as a nation, and we all said, no thank you. But at least he was honest.
Very interesting point. And a final thought, you've got a book coming out this Saturday. Tell us all about it.
I have. So my first book a year ago was about what happened to me. It was all about, we need some courage in this country, and that's what the book was about. But the book that comes out on Saturday is called The Making of a Beggar. And that's the problem we have. It's everybody now is becoming a beggar off the state. We always want someone to give us something for nothing. No one's prepared to work hard, hardly anyone's work hard. It's all about what can I get? What's in this for me? Instead of saying, what can I do to improve my family? What can I do to improve my community? If my street outside is dirty, I'll get a brush and clean it myself. I'm tired of people waiting for someone else to fix their problems, and it's getting us nowhere, and that's what we need to do if we're going to build a community back up. Personal responsibility, Nigel.
Nick Buckley, I love your positivity and your bulldog spirit. Terrific. Thank you for joining me on Talking Pie. It's a great pleasure to have you.